Hi, this is MarrowOchi again. I'm actually on the Ballmonk server of Final Fantasy XIV right now. I actually wanted to do a big ol' kind of big video for Final Fantasy XIV, namely Stormblood, but I forgot a lot of how to edit and I'm using Windows Movie Maker right now. So, fuck that. Instead, we're just going to do a big ol' rant video and I'm just going to, I guess, fly around for a bit because there's a lot of really interesting out of there areas. I'm going to keep the HUD off for now just so I can give better screen on, but I forgot what the map looks like, so fuck it. Anyways, the thing what makes Stormblood so special, I need to go back for a bit. A Realm Reborn. Everybody knows Final Fantasy XIV 1.0 is kind of where everything started, but for me, it was a Realm Reborn sometime after the first few patches. A few friends of mine were into the game. I wanted to hang out with them, so I got the game. I logged into Balmung, which is apparently like the biggest fucking server on the game, considering there was a 4,000 person queue limit. Like, it was ridiculous. I sat in that queue for hours sometimes, come this patch. But the thing is, I started off on the wrong foot when it came to A Realm Reborn. That was 2.0. When 2.0 came out, it was good, but it wasn't special. I don't really know how to say this in a way that won't like offend 14 players, but A Realm Reborn felt half of a game. It did not feel like it was for everyone, rather that it was for the people who came from 1.0, which is fine. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I felt like I got half the story, and that is because of the Empire. The Empire did not feel like a threat whatsoever. It felt like a completely boring, generic, this is a Final Fantasy Empire, therefore you should be scared of them. When Final Fantasy VII did this, which I don't like that much of a game, but I do realize that this is important to bring up. When 7 came out, the Empire was Shinra, and they basically controlled half of the fucking planet. And they were an energy corporation. That they were a threat. They were a constant threat throughout the game because they could be anywhere. The Empire just had one or two outposts in the middle of A Realm Reborn, and I didn't care. It's I didn't feel like the Empire was a threat whatsoever because they had such little presence in the entire game world. They said they had a big presence, and in future installments they did have a big presence. But for A Realm Reborn, they were just kind of there. And from A Realm Reborn on to Heaven's Ward, about, I don't know, 2.4, I still wasn't too invested. It wasn't until the Shiva patch where I had gotten invested, but not too much yet. In the A Realm Reborn game, I met a lot of really great people who helped me out with role playing on the Ballmonk server. This is a great server to be role playing on. No, you know, I know we're a congested as hell server right now, but holy shit, we got the best role players. I don't know what the other servers are like. Maybe they have good role players. Maybe they have the best role players. I don't know. I didn't go to them. But I went to Ballmung and I found some really great people. Some people hated my guts for being this kind of out there wacky character that didn't really fit into the game lore, but some people did accept me, and they're good friends to this day. And I hang out with them a lot. But, anyways, to get back on track, A Realm Reborn wasn't special. It wasn't this big, grand game yet. It was good, it just hadn't felt like it was for everyone yet. All of that changed when Heaven's Ward came out. The Heaven's Ward story did away with the Empire for a little while, let us kind of, take a break from this kind of useless Empire, and got into this really awesome big ass fight between humanity and dragons. 1,000-year-old fight between humans and Eorzea and dragons. And holy shit, that was awesome. That was like, how do you come up with a concept with that? That sounds so childish on paper, but when you're actually in there doing that shit, it feels like everything is awesome. It felt great. Every single mission felt great. Every single story part felt great. Heaven's Word was when I was starting to finally get it. what made Final Fantasy XIV so goddamn special. And it's not just that it was a Final Fantasy game. I have had rough patches with Final Fantasy in the past. 7 is kind of good, kind of overrated. I like some of the spin-offs. 8 I liked, but I like Squall, so whatever. 9 I got to play a little bit of. I liked it, but I didn't get to play much of it because I was a kid and I had a lot of shit to do back then. 10? 10 was good. 10 was good, but it had a lot of Tidus's laughter. And not just that, but Tidus's laughter kind of like explains why the game didn't work so well. Those characters just weren't very good. 10-2 is actually my favorite in terms of the spin-offs because it's just weird and doesn't make any goddamn sense, and it's Charlie's Angels, the video game, and that's hilarious. I didn't have to pretend to take it seriously like I did the other games, therefore I could sit back and just have fun. And I had fun, and it was dumb, but it was fun, and that's fine. Even if it didn't really make much sense, and Final Fantasy wasn't really Final Fantasy right then. I didn't care, I had fun. I didn't get to play 11. 12, I hated. I genuinely hated 12, and I don't think the updated version is going to be any better. I didn't like the combat, and the combat is a big thing about these games that used to be really good, and 12 was really awkward and just didn't make any goddamn sense. 13 was bad, but I liked Lightning Returns, so I'm all over the place with this kind of franchise. 15 was also amazing, but mostly DLC. 14 wasn't special until Heavensward, and when Heavensward came out, everything kind of clicked for a while. And it wasn't that it was, suddenly a good game. It was already a good game. It's when Heavensward came out was when it was reaching its legendary status among games like World of Warcraft and City of Heroes, if you ask me. Other MMOs that have made it and can make their name go by themselves. And you think, well, it's Final Fantasy, they were going to do that anyways. Final Fantasy XIV 1.0 wants to say otherwise. 1.0 was a disaster of a launch. When a game is killed off in its own goddamn canon and has to be reworked from the ground up, someone fucked up. But they brought it back, they finished it, and now it's... Look at this shit. Look, seriously, look at this map. This is the sea, right? You can go underwater. Watch, I'm just gonna go fucking underwater right now. It's gonna load a little bit, but I'm underwater now, and it looks just as good, and there's just as much to explore. This is the kind of stuff that needs to be added, and that's great. And there needs to be more in the future, like rebuilding Doma, which is what I want. But Heavensward didn't get me right off the bat. I still got to 70 within the first week because I do that. I mean, I get to 60, the maximum level at the time. But I didn't care to level up my gear. I mean, I still don't care to level up my gear right now. That's because I'm leveling up new classes. But when it first came out, I didn't give a shit in the slightest about what would be good to use, what would be bad to use. I just cared about what looked pretty at the time. And a lot of that had to do with Shiva, because Shiva weapons are amazing, and I use them for roleplay. But Heavensward itself, I didn't much care for the actual villains of the story. I'm going to say it now. From this point on, it will completely be spoiler territory. So if you want to go, go. But I'm about to spoil the rest of this shit, because I am about to gush like hell. At the end of Heavensward, the normal main scenario campaign of, what is it, 3.0, you fight basically Space Pope. I call him Space Pope. I don't actually remember his name. Thanos or whatever. Probably wrong. That's a Marvel character. But I mean, he was okay. He had some pretty cool attacks, but I honestly kind of forgot who he was throughout the story. He just kind of appeared every now and then. I wasn't too invested at the time, so I didn't watch every single cutscene with like, I need to know what's happening next, right? Like I didn't care. Like I said, I had gotten into it more around Shiva. I was still developing into that I really give a shit thing. 3.1, I actually don't remember 3.1. I think it was more of a what was it? That was when they started to introduce like the raids and stuff. And the raids were fun, but it's just I didn't understand the trials that much. It was still in that transitioning phase of I don't care. I still did the dungeons to get the necessary eye level to continue new stuff, but I never did any like raiding. I still don't do any raiding. I didn't do any like big trial events to get gear. I just I took it casually. I went along as I should have. Not really should have. Some people can do what they want, but I didn't want to go any further than that. Flash forward about 2 more patches. 3.3 Revenge of the Horde was when everything changed. Flashback a bit. My first class I ever leveled to 50 in this game, the max level of A Realm Reborn, was Dragoon. Which, yeah, I know, Dragoon jokes. I'm actually a lot better than I think I am, but Dragoon was fun because its class quest was kind of fun. There was some weight to it all, right? And a lot of that had to do with Estinian Wormblood, who, I mean, goddamn, that man is hot. Have you seen that face? Have you seen that hair? Have you seen that butt? I want to know. It's probably out there somewhere. Player models. But Estinian kind of spoke to me a little bit, I guess. Not literally. I mean, that'd be fucking weird. But I liked him as a character, even though he was an edgy douche some of the times. He was fun. And he was kind of like an edgy asshole when he came into the Heavensward story, but I liked him because he started helping out, and he was a player character in these job quests that actually helped the player out in future story campaigns, right? And he was the one I fucking leveled up first. So there was kind of like a little bit extra for me as a player when I went into Heavensward, when I think it was it the 56th dungeon? Where he actually helps you out with one of Nidhogg's eyes. Oh, we're going to get into Nidhogg in a second. But Nidhogg, when he had to fight Nidhogg, this giant fucking revenge-filled hatred dragon incarnate. I can't think of any other adjectives right now. That man, that dragon, was fucking ferocious. And the thing is, they made it very clear that you were fighting a half-finished Nidhogg with the help of Estinian, a guy who basically taught you throughout the first part. Oh, I hit a wall. Oh yeah, look, more gorgeous. Oh my god, I didn't see that till now. Oh, that's beautiful. Anyways, you were fighting a half-finished Nidhogg. And you were getting help. It was clear he was going to come back in some way, despite, being dead. And it came with Estinian being fucking corrupted. And I hated and I love that. I hated that had to take Estinian away from me. I love the fact that, holy shit, this is a great way to motivate the player, even though most people hate Estinian. A lot of people died between Heavensward and A Realm Reborn. And for the first time in like a very long time in the game's story, you actually felt like you had a chance to stop someone's death. And that's really good, because Lady Iceheart and fucking Horshafant, I probably butchered his name so hard. Characters like that made the game better when they died. And I don't mean that negatively. Holy shit, I do not mean that negatively. Their deaths were so impactful to us because we gave a shit about them. I'm gonna switch areas right quick so you can see like a different kind of continent. But when they died, you look to the future and you're like, I have to stop this from happening. Nobody else has to fucking die, right? And for the first time, you have a chance to stop that death. You have a chance to stop Estinian from dying, from being lost to this fucking douchebag of a dragon. And that is the final steps of faith, Nidhogg. And holy shit, that fight is like Fantasia, like the first movie. You know how beautiful that was without saying a single goddamn word? The music, the visuals, the size of this monster, the backstory to it all. Not a single word had to have been spoken for you to go and want to beat the shit out of this thing. And yet, after all of it, even after saving Estinian, even after butchering this thing to hell, you kind of feel bad for Nidhogg for going through all of this shit that just didn't need to happen. And I have always said that some of the best fights in video game history are the ones that you go back to and you go, I'm not going back to fight an enemy. I'm going back to fight a friend. I'm going back to fight someone who meant something to me as a player. Not because the game told me to do that, but because I wanted it to happen. Not just the character, but me. And I don't mean me, and you know what I mean. When you care so much about a certain character, and yet they're the person you're fighting, something with that sticks with you for the rest of your life. Think about your favorite Mega Man bosses, your favorite, I don't know, I can't really say Mario, I just remember Bowser, but fucking Metroid. You know when Ridley came out there and he made you feel like shit? You know at the end of Super Metroid, when fucking Mother Brain lasers the shit out of you and then kills your goddamn fucking Jello baby? Fucking call it Jello baby. That, I mean, yeah, it was forced kind of, but you cared. There didn't need to be a single word spoken. You gave a shit. And if you didn't give a shit, what the hell is wrong with it? No, I'm just kidding. But for Super Metroid, it's really good. But when you care as a player and you see a boss and you want to go back and fight that boss, it's like that's special. That speaks to you. That's something nobody else can have ever. It's something that's yours, and the game didn't make you do it. And that's great. And so many games do this. I personally have several Dark Souls villains, and not villains, some of them are tragic as hell, bosses that are just so badass and so menacing, and I love fighting each and every one of them, even as they pile me into the ground every single goddamn time. The same thing happened with Nidhogg, and I did not have a single Final Fantasy fight in my entire life that had invigorated me so much to kick the shit out of something. Sephiroth is a pansy-ass bitch compared to Nidhogg's fight. I said it. Every fight meant nothing compared to that. And that, I feel like I'm probably overestimating it, overhyping it even. It's Sephiroth. How can he be so much cooler? He is a goddamn giant dragon who stole your best friend. You're gonna kick his ass. And I love that. I love that in a game that makes you care. Because so many of these games, I just don't give a single fuck. Final Fantasy X, I don't even remember the villain. What was it? Jecht? A Sin? Whatever. I probably spoiled that too. I don't care. So many of these games are just, nobody cares at the end of it. I can barely remember a single boss fight I've had over the past year that has meant anything more to me than another random ass fight. But Nidhogg, oh my god, that fight was so goddamn good. Flash forward a bit to 3.5. We had just gotten the announcement of Stormblood and that the Empire is back. I wasn't disappointed, I was confused. The thing with Heaven's Ward, what made it so special is that the Empire wasn't there to, bore the hell out of people. I guess some people found them intimidating. I didn't get it. And I couldn't get it because I felt like I only had half of their story. I never felt like they were a threat. So I was curious, what the hell could happen? Who the hell could they introduce that could possibly at any... It's the Empire. You've already tried to make the Empire a threat, but they weren't. Why would you go back and try to make them a threat again? You've really, really got to pull out all the stops on this one. Because if you fuck up, it'd be disappointing. Especially after Nidhogg, right? And I've already had 2 patches since Nidhogg. I already knew that was the final, the finale between you and this dragon. I knew he wasn't going to fucking come back. When Stormblood came out, throughout the story, there were hints of something bigger. There were hints that, it could go somewhere. And a lot of it I was extremely fucking disappointed by. The fact that you start out in Alamigo, and then you go to Doma for like, what is it, level 62 through 68, and then you show back up in Alamigo after fucking the entire game in Doma. It's like, why not? It just feels split in half, and I didn't get it. Why not stick to 5 and 5? There was a lot of the story that kind of bothered me. Even now, it didn't make much sense to split the game in half, because at the end, it didn't feel as... Even until I hit level 70, I was disappointed with the Empire. Again, like, I didn't care. Like, yeah, some characters died, but I honestly genuinely forgot who those characters were. And I'm pretty sure they weren't memorable. Like, one of them shows up and he's like, hey, do you remember fighting with me? I'm like, who the fuck are you? But he was probably important to somebody, and when he died, he probably made them sad. All of this is subjective. I'm not saying this isn't important to somebody else. I just didn't get it. Probably because I just wasn't there for most of it. And which I probably smacked in the ground so many times that it's probably obvious. But when even, I guess in the middle of Doma, this dude, this big old samurai motherfucker working for the Empire, not working for the Empire, the Prince of the Empire, the psychotic bastard, his motives kind of seemed like a mystery. I already figured out at the beginning that he had no real motive. He was just a sadistic asshole who just wanted to fight things a lot. And he was really fucking good at it, and nothing could stand in his way, and he just desensitized to life, and he just really needed something to put him out of misery. I didn't care. Like, for a majority of Stormblood, I genuinely didn't give a shit. There were a few moments where I did give a shit. In fact, I felt sorry for some characters of the Empire. The first one, obviously, the orange-haired lady with the eye that does the magic, who I should probably remember the name of because I could totally use that to justify my own canon. And then Yatsuya, who's fucking... I loved her as a character. I know that's so weird, but I thought she was kind of edgy before, but I think what sold it to me was the crying scene. I know that sounds terrible. Why should I have to hear someone crying before I give a shit about them? But no, it's this, not just the crying, it was the sound they made. It was just how, holy shit, hold on. It was how gone they felt as a character. I'm gonna do lookout right quick. Yay. Anyways, it felt like a genuine I've given up kind of thing. They're gonna die. They're gonna die, and everything that has ever meant anything to them in their entire life has hated them. And any form of redemption, anything, every single bit of her life has been a disappointing, self-hating, kind of violence fetishized mess. And she was just so gone, like, and that's so weird considering I'm saying, hey, there's another character totally like that, and they're the real villain. But no, like, this is a character who just got handed a really bad deal in life, and I didn't want her to go. I actually wanted her to go through, like, I guess, a redemption arc. Do you know who she actually reminds me of? I mean, black hair, heirs to an empire, controls a place even though she doesn't really control a place, and completely ruthless and dominatrix-like. She's Azula from, Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I like Azula. She's actually my favorite character from the show, but because of the tragicness of her situation, despite her ego and despite the fact that she can actually kick the shit out of things, and despite, being a total bitch when it comes to Katara, because Katara is the best character on the show, hands down. But I gave a shit about Yatsuya. I don't remember. It's the A or the U. And I was glad. Spoilers. I already said it earlier, but whatever. Spoiler alert, she's alive. She doesn't die. She's on an abandoned island with a buff-ass samurai man. They're alive. I kinda called it. But I wasn't sure, because 14 has surprised me a lot when it comes to its plot twists. Now, the big question is, did the Empire finally win me over? I want you to look at that thing over there. That is the kingdom of Alamigo, stolen by the Empire. That is an imposing fortress of hatred. That's the Empire. That is the Empire I expect when I hear Final Fantasy. When I walk up to their front door, I should be assaulted on the spot by fucking 30-ass soldiers looking for my head to present to their king or emperor or whatever. I don't care. The point is, it was finally a threat when I hit level 69. But it wasn't threatening enough to be Nidhogg level. This grand structure, even the music to the place. By the way, the music to this place, I want an orchestrion of it right now. I will kidnap a fucking bard to play it for my bar mitzvah. I don't actually have a bar mitzvah, but that, you know the point. Anyways, it wasn't until after beating the 70 dungeon and taking on a very certain final boss of Stormblood that everything clicked. I had finally met someone almost on par with Nidhogg. And when I say almost, I mean a 0.05 down, right? If Nidhogg is 100, then Shinryu and Xenos put together is a 99.95%. Alright? That is how fucking good that fight is. From the beginning of the music to even the quick time event. There is a quick time event in the middle of the fight, and it's not boring. Because in the middle of that goddamn fight, it starts up the second phase, and it feels amazing. When you're fighting this, oh my god, giant ass dragon. You see that place? The dragon is bigger, alright? That dragon is bigger than the Q times for Raubon Savage, alright? That motherfucker was big. And he was so big that you needed to climb on him for the second phase of the fight. You actually had to cling on to him with a quick time event to get up to the second part of the fight. And when it zooms out, you're not even a speck on your TV. You are so small of a pixel to him that you can't actually fucking see yourself. It has to zoom up so you can see yourself for a second, and then just goes back to this giant ass dragon. And you and 7 other people kick his ass. And that is what Final Fantasy XIV is all fucking about. It is these giant fights, not just the story, because the story is good. Stormblood is great. And in fact, if I was to compare this to Heavensward, it's the better expansion. Even though I adore Heavensward with every single moment. Everything was perfect. But so much was added with Stormblood to make it a much better, much more solid game with much larger areas. Like, holy shit, look at this motherfucking place. But like I said, it hadn't clicked. And most of these games won't click until you go forward and you start kicking the shit out of things. These games get better when you progress. They always do. You really think the best MMO starts you out when you're level 1? I mean, you know, the best MMO is best when you're level 1? No, because you stop being level 1 after fucking 5 minutes. When you get to the end of all this, when it's the climax of the fucking game, and you're staring up a dragon so goddamn big, it makes the Empire State Building wet its pants somehow. You've got a good fight. This is Shadow of the Colossus territory. That's what made those games so good. That's what makes fucking Breath of the Wild so good, besides its free roam. Looking up at something that just appears out of fucking nowhere. And here's the best part. Up until the last few moments, you actually didn't know what Xenos had. This whole time you thought, oh man, he just has Omega, right? Like they've been pointing out, this guy has Omega at the top of the fortress. And then you get up to the top of the fortress and it's not Omega. It's Shinryu. And if anyone has ever played a Final Fantasy game, you know who the fuck Shinryu is. He is a massive god of a dragon. That guy is so big, he's like the narrator of the first Final Fantasy, alright? It might have been Sid, but I remember him speaking a lot in other games. I think he and Sid had a conversation in Dissidia, and Dissidia is my favorite Final Fantasy ever, so. The point is, if you're gonna get 14, just do it. And don't spoil yourself by rushing through to get to Heaven's Word as soon as possible. Alright? Enjoy every last goddamn second of it. It might be slow at first. You might spend the next 2 or 3 months boring yourself with A Realm Reborn's kind of ness. And I won't lie, there's a lot of people who love A Realm Reborn. I didn't care because I wasn't there for the first game. But don't miss on it. Because why I appreciate Stormblood has a lot to do with why I didn't appreciate A Realm Reborn. Because A Realm Reborn was so kind of small, it shows you how much they've progressed over, I don't know, what is it, 2 expansions now? Technically 3 expansions. An entire remake of the game. A game that was apparently so bad that they had an in-game event before the server shut down saying that everyone dies. Oops, we're sorry. We'll do this again next time. Give them a year, and they come back with a fantastic game. And then, fucking this. Just play the whole goddamn game from start to finish. Don't buy yourself a jump potion unless you've already gotten a character to 50 and you've already done the story. Play it the way it's meant to be played first. Because you will love this game from start to finish. And I know, for those who probably have waited this long to hear a video, I'm not really looking to hear a fucking rant video. I mean, it's probably going to get, like, what, 5 views? 25 views, that's my usual. It's probably not going to go anywhere. But for the few of you who are on the fence, for the 2 or 3 of you who are on the fence watching this video right now, don't just buy it. Buy a subscription. Get yourself to 50. Beat A Realm Reborn. Beat every single patch. I don't care if it takes you the rest of the goddamn year to catch up with us. Do it. Because when you get to the end, and when you're staring up at that goddamn dragon, you'll know you made it the right way. Like the rest of us. You earned that fucking dragon fight. You earned the right to fight Nidhogg. You earned the right to save Alamigo. I guess that's what this whole goddamn game is about. Alright, I've gone on for too long. So, I'm going to upload this one to my main channel. I might upload it to NetSlums later. Like I said, Matt and I are still kind of doing a video. But he doesn't play Final Fantasy XIV, and I do. So, this is going on my own personal channel. And fuck it. I'll see you guys next time. Maybe I'll do more Final Fantasy XIV videos in the future. I want to talk about my favorite fucking boss fights in this game. Because this game has great boss fights. Like Sephiroth and fucking baby dolls. Everybody hates the baby dolls and anti-terror with me. But, you know what? Fuck it. It's a good game. Just go. Get it right now. I'm going to end it by getting that thing. Like right now. Awesome. You guys can totally hear this. Where's the fucking lookout? There it is. Yes. I should have used that one for a fucking experience boost. Anyways, get the fuck out of here. See ya.